Hey, Johannes.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, really good. How you doing today, man?
I'm good. I'm really good. You got me fresh out of the shower. I know you don't get it from there, but I smell real nice.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome, man. What time is it where you're at right now?
8 p.m.
8
Where
p.m.
are you?
Oh,
Where
okay.
are you at?
I'm in Toronto right now. It's about 1 p.m. here. And yeah, exciting day for you, man. I guess in 3 hours you got a new single dropping or a video.
Seems, yeah. So it seems new song, new video with that song, and I was just now on my way into the shower thinking about it. Like I should probably be excited. I, I'm glad. I'm happy. I'm looking forward to it. But I think it's just this, and I'm sure you have heard different versions of this from different artists. This just you have that excitement of I think the big peak is the conception of the song, and and then it's when we get to do it on stage, and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
great too. I'm really looking forward to see having people get to see it. But it also means that we're done working on this particular thing. So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I can even imagine in your position too, because part of what makes Avatar so special is the whole spectacle of it from like just being on stage and the live performance and everything. And it's just such a interesting, weird time right now where the people can't experience that, and you yourself as a performer can't be out there in front of people at the moment. But how are you feeling right now through all this?
Ultimately, I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
We are kind of locked down here, my wife, my dog, and I. But I like my wife and I like my dog, so it could be worse. And we are healthy, and all that. So yes, I would like to tour this fall as we originally had planned. Yes, but in the grand scheme of things, my parents, my in-laws are healthy, my siblings are doing well. Now, all those things that truly matters are still fine right now. We are still paying our rent and feeding ourselves. So in the grand scheme of things, we're doing really well. And then you have parts of days or sometimes full days where you get more cabin fever. Then
hmm
luckily we happen to live in it's real pretty where we live, especially now during the summer. And the dog drags us out, no matter what. And so, the healing powers of nature.
Oh yeah,
There's
man.
yeah, there's something to you're Canadian, you understand.
Yeah, for sure too. But even like now, I'm in the city, and like you said, the healing power of nature. Almost the schedule I had was so busy with work wise and everything before this whole lockdown, and just right now I've been exploring. Even this morning, I found some like nature trails around there, and like I just like my mindset's been like healthier. Like it's a sad thing that people are getting sick right now, but I think for myself, I kind of needed this downtime. But
Yeah. Although for here at home in our apartment, there is no downtime. We are both very able to do a lot of work from home. Like, yeah, I don't get to tour this fall, but somehow we were able to come up with and make a music video happen with me here. I had to
Yeah, yeah.
film my parts in the living room I'm sitting in right now,
Oh wow.
and pull off an idea where it will, work and make, be good enough and stand up to in a fight if it would have to battle our older music videos. And we were able to pull that off, for instance. But there's just a lot of work we can do.
yeah, definitely, especially with the way technology is today and everything, we're kind of blessed. But yeah, I seen like a little snippet of the video. Looks awesome. I'm excited to tune in a couple hours and everything.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of actually for like the last couple of years I think I heard about you guys a little bit after Avatar Country came out. And like I feel like I'm almost getting so bombarded with media. I remember seeing you guys on like all these different metal sites and stuff, but I haven't actually took the deep dive until this week. And I want to say it was just like one of the most enjoyable experiences I had preparing for an interview. The whole band, the vibe is so fun and just exciting. Even this morning, I ended up watching the Legend of Avatar Country, and just like in these times, it was so nice to get my mind off things and just almost explore this other world that you guys created. And I would just want to commend you on, like, I don't know, this big structure you have built. But it also makes me so curious of maybe your beginning times of like diving into music. Can I ask you, like, maybe like growing up, like what were like some of the bands or like artists that kind of pushed you towards this direction, or like kind of give you that big music stimulation?
That predates me. Music was in my life way before metal, and way before, like, one of my earlier memories, and definitely first time that I, like, at some point I was at an age, where I like this, I want to listen to this, was Beethoven, through my parents being into classical music. That would be the albums put on when we would have breakfasts in the weekends or whatever, and I would, one of the first jobs what I wanted to be when I grew up was to be a conductor. Like, we had this some kind of big book about music, and somewhere the centerfold, so to speak, was just how the mapped out symphony orchestra.
Oh wow!
And that picture, and then listening to the Fifth Symphony or parts of the Fifth Symphony. I think we had a CD, the best of Beethoven, and listening to that and seeing the conductor there, and probably having seen something on TV. So, and I guess at that age, because I'm like 4 or 5 or something. Probably 5, because I was also playing conductor in front of my little sister, who was a baby, so can't have been older than 5. I think that in my mind, it was like Bugs Bunny, that if you wave the arm like that, the orchestra immediately knows what to do. Meaning it would be like performing music, like composing. I guess more than a conductor. That I thought the conductor was a composer, probably.
Yeah.
Or almost like psychically just like moving his hands and everybody knows what to do type.
Exactly, yeah. Like, I didn't know how it worked beyond that. So I think it was already heading that direction from a very early age, if I think back at it. Then same thing, when I was around 8, second grade, I became friends with another boy in class. And on their computer at home, they had a MIDI score program. Like, you could write sheet music and it would play it up in MIDI, which blew my mind. And by then I had already started to take piano lessons with my siblings, so I could read music. So that was a pastime. Like, there was something we played between. We didn't have G.I. Joes, but you're in spirits. G.I. Joes and video games. Another thing we played was to compose together.
Wow.
You don't need to say wow per se, because it wasn't something. It wasn't Mozart stuff or anything like that. But it was.
Of course.
It's the beginning seed of everything.
Yeah, it was there very early on, and then so aside from that, getting that relationship to making music, stuff I liked that also put me on this path was probably Michael Jackson early on. Of course, like, I was, I guess, 5 when Dangerous came out, so the black and white music video and all that, and whatever channel we had, we would play Moonwalker, and I was at an age where that seemed like a good movie. And
Mecca Michael Jackson. I remember the robot part.
Yeah, exactly. Avatar Country actually does make slightly more sense, slightly. But so it was that, and the Beatles came into the picture very early through my dad, who grew up on those things. And then another half of it was pro wrestling.
Oh, cool. I was actually going to ask you about the pro wrestling with your makeup later on, but
yeah.
No, but it was shown with Swedish commentary. They imported some segments from shows. I don't even know how it worked, but it was, it was on Saturday mornings after the cartoons. For a while there, they showed wrestling, and then as I got older, I find other channels, and we got a satellite dish and whatever to start to find it elsewhere. But that thing of, I think wrestling at that age gave me kind of what metal later gave me, like this expression, this super reality. This super realism. It's the real word. There were real life superheroes, so it was larger than life, but yet it was real and it really happens, which is also a way to describe an Yngwie Malmsteen guitar solo or whatever.
Yeah. It's
so
almost
all
like
those seeds kind of were planted, and then it all came together, I guess, with metal. And I stopped cutting my hair pretty much literally because I heard Halloween and Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2. And very early in my discovery of heavy metal, I fell in love with the early stuff. And I was also around at the time when I started to discover, heavy music was at the time where Black Sabbath reunited. So I guess that made them kind of accessible, for a 11, 12-year-old, whatever I was. So Sabbath, Beatles, German power metal bands such as Halloween, Blind Guardian, and then with 14, the journey into the extreme began, as it does.
Cool.
Chase the Dragon, and suddenly you listen to grindcore.
Yeah, that's exactly my story too. It's just like once I hit 14, it's like, okay, and then it gets heavier and heavier and heavier.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden you're just listening to this sounds like noise, but you can comprehend it, but you can't really play it at a party.
Exactly. And pivotal band, you being Canadian and always Cryptopsy.
Oh,
and
yeah,
still a huge influence on the band.
Yeah, they're crazy, legendary. So it's cool to hear that the seed of music and even writing has always been with you since almost like one of your earliest memories.
Yeah, I should have become much better by the age I'm at now, I guess.
Oh, you're great, but just like I want to know also, like, when did you transition from just kind of writing for fun to finally like kind of forming a band or playing on stage in front of people?
Well, so I learned. So I had a piano teacher from between the ages of something like 5 until I was maybe 8 or 9. Then I was playing the trombone from I was 10 to 18, and picked up the guitar when I was 12 probably. And that all gave me, then it was whatever things at school or parents coming or whatever, those things put me on stage before it felt like being put on stage,
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, first time I was supposed to play some bass with some other fellow metalhead friends in school. I didn't have a bass and no one else wanted to sing, so I became a singer. And we played Suicide Solution, we played TNT and Living After Midnight, that kind of heavy metal stuff. I think we reached 9 covers. The last one we learned before that all fizzled out was For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Oh, yeah.
I guess. And around that time, I joined another band where we immediately were jamming and writing. And it was what it was for that age and stuff, but it was cool like to come up with songs on the spot with other people the way we did there. And I was also tricked into singing. I was supposed to play some guitar and trombone. It was some kind of funk band. I hadn't really, I was totally into metal, but hadn't found the like-minded souls quite yet. But those guys in that funk band introduced me to John, and suddenly I left. Long story short, I left that band and stayed with Avatar because there everything clicked early on. Like, okay, yeah, we want to do metal. We want to figure out, drummer's going to learn to play really fast double bass drum, and the guitarists are working on tapping and downstrokes, and I'm just screaming my lungs out, and that's what we want to do. We were all equally ambitious, and from day one there was no doubt, not that we weren't good, but we knew we were going to be, that spark was lit.
Yeah, just the intention and the vision of what you wanted it to be was there, and it's just all the now it's
like
more intention. Yeah, more intention than vision.
Yeah.
It was some general sense that we're gonna make it, and what it was, who knew? Like I said, that prepubescent, you see boobs, but you're not quite mature enough to process what you're really feeling.
It's like just this
I want. What do you want? I don't know yet. No, we haven't started that class yet. That sense, but with that, we're gonna make it. What is it? Like, yeah, you want to be big like Metallica and Iron Maiden or something, and but you want to play death metal, and it was all over the place. But very ambitious. Started to rehearse with the lights out. John had a metronome in his ear, so we could play the songs from half tempo, 10 steps up to the full tempo. Lights out, so you couldn't, which was great for them because that would teach them not to look at their instruments while playing, so you could headbang more and stuff.
That's a great exercise.
But yeah, singing in half tempo in a dark room, I fell asleep on occasion. I did. But it's funny, actually, that I heard some podcasting with Mikael Åkerfeldt from Opeth, and he mentioned, if I remember, they did the same thing in the early days. Lights out, because looking at your instrument is considered cheating.
Oh, wow. And they do crazy stuff, like just all these nutty patterns, too. Like
that's they impressive. But so do we. Nowadays, you're allowed to look a little bit at your instruments. But then the beginning, again, was important, very important not to.
Yeah, well, that's a great exercise, and like, it's cool. Like, cause I know like with these segments too, a lot of people like to or who message me too are kind of like artists themselves, and like that's something maybe they can take with them.
It's a good thing, and also the whole thing that because that was I guess might have come from Simon when he was still in the band. He was the last one to join. Like there was something called Avatar before. Like I think John and Jonas had a band that they disbanded and then started Avatar, meaning got rid of that. The guys kept the rehearsal room, and it was in that process that I joined. Then we had some guys coming and going, but we were just playing covers then as well. Cannibal Corpse, Vader, Halloween, and everything in between. Around the time when we started to write original material for real was, and the song started to be like, this is actually getting good. Then Henrik and Simon were already in band. And I think it was Simon who said, when I practice shredding, I take a metronome and I play it in multiple steps from half tempo. And I think it came from him. And we started to do that collectively. And yeah, you want to bash, you want to, slam your head against the wall after a while. But man, I think we fast forwarded our, as a band, or how we evolved just playing wise in a short period of time.
Yeah, just really like stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, and just the half tempo thing, to really be conscious of what it is you're actually doing, and in that sense, yeah, we evolved very fast from that in that period.
Yeah, that's cool to hear, like the music side of everything, and I kind of want to get into the whole spectacle of things. Like, when did you start, like, I don't know, maybe thinking of this idea like Avatar is going to be more than just the sounds we make? And like, maybe like, do you remember the first time you started putting on makeup and everything?
Yeah, well, the eyeliner showed up early and felt like a big deal at the time. So, and girlfriends would help us draw, and we were terrified. Don't poke our eyes out. Yeah. How do you girls do this all the time? You're crazy. That was early on, and I can't put a date on when. I know we were looking for something. We wanted something, or very early on, but we had no idea what. And that went hand in hand with that. Ultimately, if you're going to do something, well, like this, the way we treat it that has worked for us is, once we realized that an image, it doesn't just have to be an image, and a music video doesn't just have to be a promotional tool, Once you realize that everything around the music can be art as well, it started to click, and you start to ask yourself the right question, what does the music look like? Which is, at some point, was incredibly abstract, and definitely if someone would have asked us to think about that when we were teenagers, you know, the question is too complicated to even understand for you to find an answer, I guess. But that started to grow, and it was really with Black Waltz where all the face painting and all that started, where that was happening. First, just to have my presence make sense in the music video we were putting together very spontaneously, and but then it just clicked, and it made sense with everything else. It just felt like, oh, I look the way we sound now.
Hey everybody, I hope you're enjoying this interview with Johannes of Avatar. I just want to take a quick second to let you know this interview was recorded a few months ago, and actually, as of now, the latest album from Avatar, Hunter Gatherer, it is out and is on all streaming platforms. Alright, so go do yourself a favor, check that out. And also check out their short film on YouTube, Avatar Country. You won't be disappointed. That's my recommendation. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, before we get back into this, let's let this play for a little second. You guys have so many different sounds all mixed into one. It's almost like this combination of just a celebration of the best of rock and metal, and just listening to your music this past week and diving deep into like your catalog too. It's like I hear a little bit of like AC/DC here. I hear
a little bit of like
the heavier bands, and like it's all, even though it's like all over the place, it kind of like it fits. And it almost reminds me a bit of another Canadian guy, Devin Townsend.
Huge fan. We are huge fans, especially I am a mega fan, but we all are all fans. He actually, the craziest thing, last year he toured with us. He opened for us.
Oh, cool.
And that came together. Well, he did a stretch of acoustic shows right after he finished Genesis, and that put him in a position where it made sense for him to, you know, open for us, which was great. Like, again, I'm a huge fan, and he's a really, really great guy, and a very fun guy to be around. It was just at the first show where it anyway got the premiere nerves a bit, but I was fine. Well, I was changing, started to paint my face. Then that bastard started to warm up his voice. And I had all been thinking, oh, it's going to be so cool, travel across North America with Devin. And, you know, we had met a little bit before that and got along pretty well. So this is going to be awesome. And I haven't thought about the fact that I have to, as a singer, follow him on stage every night for a month, which was, I got over it, but it was, as the fanboy, I tried to pretend not to be too much in his presence. It was a bit, you know, it made me step up my game, I guess.
Yeah, like even like I'm not a singer myself, but like I could hear him, and his pipes are just so unreal. And I've even seen some YouTube videos of reaction from vocal coaches and stuff, and they're like, what is this guy, an alien? And I'm like, yeah, that's Devin Townsend, he's an alien pretty much. But
I think there's a pinnacle to go deep dive and geek out on it. On the album Accelerated Evolution, there's a sequence towards the end of the song, Storm, right? And because the verses have been very mellow up until that point. He sings, if you wanted to, say you wanted to, if you wanted to save the world. And then the last verse, kind of half thing leading into the last chorus and all that, he does that with that scream voice and that ultra smooth transition from that I can do, you know.
Yeah.
If I would try for real, it would be louder, but how the melody is maintained through all those changes, you know. And that is such a, and that came out again, I was maybe 17 or something. Have been a fan for a couple of years already, but that how and like became this, that is one of those things I aspire to. There are a couple of those also, like Peter Dolving and Marco Aro for different reasons, but I'm a huge fan of both, as they sang in The Haunted at different times. But Peter Dolving was also this great transitions, between the when it really, with some singers, when it stopped mattering if it was very harsh and extreme or melodic, it was just all intertwined somehow. Was very important to me and a huge inspiration.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. And yeah, I can imagine like you guys and Devin getting along too, because you both have great like glowing like sense of humors to like your personalities and everything. And yeah, speaking of that too, as this morning I watched The Legend of Avatar Country, and like I mentioned, like it just put like a huge smile on my face.
And
So was this always in mind to make the film, like to coincide with
the album?
Yeah, it started, we knew very early on we wanted to make a music video for each song, or at least the conventional, because that album, then it has that interlude, it has the orchestral intro, like it has some moving pieces that aren't conventional songs. But for the conventional songs, we wanted a music video for each. It started with that, and we made a storyline for it. Then the ambition grew as we were working on it, that it would be cool to fill in the blanks in between, if possible. But then, of course, like we were able to squeeze out money from labels for them to back us doing 3 music videos, which is already a lot. But then we're at least 3 more songs to go, hence the Kickstarter campaign. And with the Kickstarter campaign and the great response we got on it, that made it possible to then fill in the blanks in between and, really go deeper on a story that mainly makes sense to, basically it's us and our backers. And everyone else who gets something out of it is a great bonus.
Yeah.
But we really, while making it and talking about, well, this is going to be when Johannes flies and reads the mind of John and love it. And they said, no one's going to get this. No one. This is the, in terms of focus groups, this film is only for the focus group.
Oh, it's amazing too. And even I noticed too, when the credits were coming up, you credited all like your backers and stuff, and you had like different tiers and cool names for them, like the count.
Yeah, and
like
exactly. They got to choose a bit also what to call themselves and things
yeah,
like that.
That's really nice.
Yeah, and it was a great summary for what Avatar Country ended up being, because ultimately, we, in the middle of everything else we've been doing, we already with Feathers and Flesh, not while writing it, but kind of when touring it and things that started to happen along the way, a lot of humor started to seep in whatever we were doing. Also, like, if people want us to dress cool for a red carpet for an award show, we should up in swim shorts and 3 Wolf Moon t-shirts and whatever. And we just started to use humor as a weapon to not wanting to conform and stuff. Like, it was a whole thing going on.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of inclination that we were pulling more and more towards wanting to try to do something funny. And also we spent a year listening to Manowar's Hail and Kill before each show.
Nice.
So this kind of love letter to heavy metal, and want to just see, can we be funny? Well, it's funny to us, so fuck it, let's do it. That came together being ultimately based on an inside joke, because Jonas was the king because he changed his middle name on Facebook to Kungen, which is Swedish for the king, and to annoy his friends, and it worked. But it also caught on as a nickname, and with the nickname came all these inside jokes behavior where we would treat him like a king, as a just one of those silly things you would do on the road to crack each other up, and ultimately that bizarrely grew into, like, we made a whole album about it, and basically I wrote lyrics that are obsessive love songs, putting my buddy Jonas on a pedestal. It's crazy.
This is making me love it even more. Like, cause like I got the story where he's like the king, and then there's all these heavy metal deities like
Yeah.
watching over the earth and everything. But now
Yeah.
just hearing the seed of this comes from him changing his Facebook name makes me
Yeah.
like appreciate that. Like, cause this turned into like the most epic thing off of that. Like,
Yeah, and the beautiful thing with it was, inside joke, and we saying always, basically, any album could be our last. Any album could be a train wreck, a Chinese democracy without us realizing it. You know, the thing is with Chinese democracy is that it seems like the whole world moved on. We just pretended it didn't happen, and life went on for all of us. But for the artist is the only one who truly has to live with it for the rest of their lives. And then I hope Axl Rose loves Chinese democracy, because I love each and every album, and we are very sworn to always do whatever we want to do artistically, come hell or high water. So that's how it started. But then it morphed into, because the audience was all aboard right away. They played along and helped, make Avatar Country feel like a real place for a while there. So the album and the touring and the film and everything ultimately became the story about, our fans as much as ours, and just the relationship we have with it to each other.
yeah, that's such a beautiful thing too. Even I think I read something from you guys in your press release that Avatar Country was the second largest indie album on its debut.
If you say so. I don't remember that.
Okay.
No, I know that Ryan, who wrote the press release, though, is great on researching those kind of things. So I believe him. We did nibble at the bottom of the Billboard Top 100, if I remember, when it came out, at least. So that's something, I guess, But it was, again, a very cool experience, and something that you can only do once. But then, of course, what also happens is we did it funny once, and now we got it out of our system. So before knowing anything about this album, we at least knew about Hunter Gatherer. We knew that, at least from an aesthetic perspective, it's like, the next one's going to be real heavy, right? Yep.
Okay.
we knew that much very early on, because we had gotten all the Manowars and Halloweens out of our system. We had gotten saying words like glory a lot, all that, and legend and all that. We finally got to do that all the way, because as I mentioned, bands like Halloween, Blind Guardian, Hammerfall, Manowar, all that has meant a lot to me and to us. So so finally we get to do a bit more of that. But then it's also that ultimately, going back to that, we covered Cannibal Corpse and Vader and whatnot. It started to be like, okay, there's some darkness to explore. Also because growing up, having learned to use being creative as some sort of healing process, as therapy, during Avatar Country I was off my meds for 2 years, so to speak. It was not seeing you shrink for 2 years. So the darkness had become quite compact once it was time to really process life and be more, I struggle to find a different word than serious, because, well, more serious. Avatar Country was very sincere, but maybe serious is not the word for what it was. But now it was time to get serious again, I guess.
Okay, yeah. And I think you had a little sprinkle in it. Even I wrote down in my notes, like chapter 4, The King's Harvest, was pretty dark. And I think that was like one of my favorite parts of the thing. It was just very creepy and heavy and everything. Kind of to break up, I don't know, all like the funniness in it. But
of course, like, we didn't do a complete 180 to remove all the heavy stuff either. It's just within who we are and how we write, it was pushing more towards Germans with mullets than other albums that we have done before that. But of course, still it's heavier than a lot of other music out there.
True. I think what's beautiful too is like for decades and decades, people have been making concept albums, and it's almost like you listen to the movie. But this one, it actually came to life with like visuals
and everything.
It's
very few bands do that.
It's us and Pink Floyd.
Yeah, for sure. And like, it's cool. Like, even like you mentioned, like the Beatles are an influence too. I know they had their movies back in the day and everything. So yeah, it's just awesome. Like all these little seeds in you.
And Magical Mystery Tour. Yeah, the Avatar Country makes more sense than Magical Mystery Tour. Imagine that. A Hard Day's Night is great though.
Yeah, it's been a while. I got to revisit that one. I watched it when I was a kid, but I remember enjoying it. But how about the new one, Hunter Gatherer? Is this going to be a concept as well,
or is it? No, that was actually an important point, because we did Feathers and Flesh as a concept album, mainly initially because we didn't know what it meant to make a concept album. So we did it for the challenge, for the hell of it, to step up our game, so to speak. Then the whole Avatar Country thing came together the way I just told you about. So that kind of had to be a concept album. So first time was a challenge. Second time it was an asset, a method. Third time it would have become a crutch, just a hindrance even because suddenly would have a method where you would lean on something. Yeah. So now we removed everything and started with a very blank page. Again, we knew it's going to be dark, going to be heavy, and there was a sense of that there was a big picture that we were all striving towards without knowing exactly what it was, except for a feeling. It was kind of like having a painting in front of you that was slightly out of focus. You knew it was there, it was something there, and the more songs we wrote and worked on, it started to become more and more, focused. Until Hunter Gatherer emerged. But there are some red threads there. It's called Hunter Gatherer very much because of a book, Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari, there's a lot to be said about that book. It's amazing. But we are hunter gatherers in the sense that we are, this animal, this creature, Homo sapiens, that has been the same animal for, I don't know if it's hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of years, but evolution wired us and got us optimized to live in an environment as hunter-gatherers. And life was probably on an individual level not bad. It was probably, living the way we were meant to live in a sense. Then we have evolved, not as a species, but as thinking humans, and created a more and more complex way of life. And it started with agriculture, which was great because we could feed more of us. So it was a recipe for success for the species. But on the individual level, we started to face some challenging of malnutrition, illnesses, arthritis, back issues, just things like that. The more monotonous way of living and working compared to, running around the woods, basically. And it also led to things like, if you're more dependent on those grains you grow yourself, you need to store them for the winter. Suddenly different weathers became more dangerous. Starvation was more around the corner. And those storages was something you could desire from your neighbor and steal. So you needed guards, more weapons, more violence. You needed walls. You needed more children. Children, you had less breast milk to go around, because you would have more children. So more wheat porridge, more malnutrition, more illnesses. So on an individual level, not so nice. And if we fast forward, the Industrial Revolution that traps people inside of factories doing even more monotonous work, even more detached from our nature, on an individual plane, probably not a great thing. But we could feed more of us, so we could be more. So good for the species. Then if we fast forward to today, all in all, for quite a few decades at this point, at least post World War II, probably post World War One, things have started to turn around also for individuals for real. But now we are living in this gilded high-tech cage, and we are ruining the climate, like making the planet unlivable for ourselves. and it's trying to understand where we are at while keeping in mind that we are exactly like the same creatures that our ancestors were.
Yeah.
And also a lot of the album then deals with the fact that the problems, things are speeding up and we are in a hurry to change things, so we have to run faster than time to, we have to outrun the catastrophe we're creating, and there's no point in looking back. We can't be hunter-gatherers again. You can't climb a tree and say you're a monkey and I think all will be swell. We are beyond that point, and we have to chase forward. We are currently living in the dystopian cyberpunk future that video games and stuff and movies and everything showed us in the 80s and 90s. We are living that now, and we seem to be in a fork in the road where we have a choice to either head forward to a dystopian Mad Max, Terminator 2, whatever scenario, or go full Star Trek. And I think that's our only chance to basically go Star Trek, is
get off this planet we're destroying type of thing.
Yeah, and turn things around down here first,
Yeah, it's great to hear you break that down that way, and like I love that you're making an album with that in mind too. It's something like just the human evolution is something I always like think about too, and like almost like what if we did this differently here and there, or even now times like even though like I'm living in comfort too, but like the world is being punished in different sections. I'm like, are we doing it the right way? But I'm not smart enough to come up with like another solution for it type of thing.
But exactly. Well, we are definitely not doing it the right way, but I don't think past ways were the right way either.
Yeah.
We have, again, I think we have all the potential in the world to turn this around. But then you have the issue of if we waste time we're screaming at each other a lot, while if you go out in space and listen, it's awfully quiet around. We're not making the right kind of noise. Hence the song Silence in the Age of Apes, for instance.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to listen to this album. And yeah, for people listening, it's coming out August the 7th. And
it's getting close.
Yeah. And yeah, so you got the video coming out today. Is there any other things you guys been working on around this beyond the release? Or?
Well, yeah, like as we can't tour, we keep thinking of things we can do to be entertainers, because we are, now we've been talking a lot about the artistic intentions behind everything, and yeah, it always has to begin with the music. That's the core of it, and we're very protective of that core. Once it's made and we start putting out there, then the show business side of what we do, the fact that we love the art of entertainment and to be performing artists, all that comes. And as we've been touching on, obviously we can't tour now, so I don't know, we're more present on YouTube and on our own. We have avatarcountry.com. That Avatar Country as a concept for albums, that's over. We're done with that. But the world keeps existing. Like this it's our fan club at this stage, and there we have done some special Q&As for the fans there, where being a lot with just the band, but also we had Jay Ruston, our producer, be there with me and answer fan questions and tell some stories. And we also do that with we have more stuff like that coming up, and we are working on the third music video as we speak, but I will not tell you anything about it. But so Silence in Age of Apes is already out there, Colossus is out there, and another one is coming. And yeah, we just had our umpteenth meeting about it, and it's moving forward very nicely. I'm very excited.
Very exciting times, man. And yeah, it's like I mentioned, I just recently did this deep dive. I'm a new fan, and it was a pleasure to talk to you today and just pick
your brain on this.
I think this conversation made me even appreciate the things I appreciated to another level now. So
I'm glad to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, cheers. And yeah, I'll keep in touch with your label and everything, and let you guys know when this drops.
What's up?
Excellent.
Once again, thank you so much for your time today, and yeah, hope to catch you down the road once you guys
start touring again.
we'll play Toronto again one day. You know, just keep your hands clean and cough into your elbow, all those things, and we'll be sure to meet further down the road.
To the Creative Imbalance podcast can burn in hell.